What is going on at our club? Seriously, serious question, guys. What is actually happening at the club? It appears that, well, look, we've gone into the international break on the back of two exceptionally disappointing results with a fan base that are exceptionally unhappy with the toxicity after an old firm game that hasn't been seen in years. With just a season so far of massive anticlimax and massive underperformance by the club. Well, by the club, no, perhaps not by the club, perhaps by the manager and the players. I don't think the board deserve the criticism that perhaps they're getting from some guys. The board have backed Michael Beale. They've given him the money that he wanted. They're prepared to fund transfer moves for players, which perhaps hasn't been seen in the past. You know, something that Douglas Park and Stuart Robertson were criticised for in the past, trying to do it on the cheap. Look, I think realistically, yes, Rangers have spent a serious amount of money for the club. Yes, it is not a serious amount of money in modern football, but we're not a club that has the money that's the likes of Manchester United, Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea, uh, the English Premier League clubs, or even have, even the AC Milan's, Inter Milan's, Juventus's, Barcelona's, Real Madrid's, Bayern Munich's have. We just don't have those funds anymore. That is down to a whole number of reasons. That's a different podcast as to why we don't have the cash. But look, what is going on with this club at this moment in time? As Heart and Hand said yesterday in a tweet, which I think puts it best, the board needed to back or sack Beale, and they've done pretty much neither. They've been pretty silent on the whole Michael Beale situation. They haven't said that they back the manager, which sometimes obviously is the kiss of death, isn't it? Your board comes out and says, we back our manager 100%. We're 100% behind our manager, and a day or two later, he's sacked. But they haven't done that, and they haven't sacked him. There's been rumours in the press of what John Bennett has allegedly said, that he said that he's not prepared at this stage to offer Beale's head on a plate, which was colourful language used by the Scottish Sun, I think it was. There is, people in the media calling that he's saying that he should go. There's former Rangers captain Barry Ferguson been accused of being a cheerleader, and again today coming out and backing Michael Beale, saying it's too early in the season. There's others saying that, if you look at his whole record, not just this season, 6 games against Celtic, only 1 victory over them in a game that was largely meaningless. So what is going on with the club? Then perceivably Michael Beale throws the board under the bus a little bit in that post-match presser. But Michael Beale says a lot in press conferences, but doesn't say a great deal, does he? He's a soundbite manager, and he talks way too much in press conferences. What you need is a happy medium between what Steven Gerrard was like and what Gio was like. Steven Gerrard gave you a little bit, Gio gave you nothing, and you need somewhere, I think, in between. But at the end of the day, Beale came out and said that Rangers, this was a break-even transfer window, insinuating that the board were only prepared to spend what they took in terms of monies from player sales. Then we see in an article by Chris Jack of Rangers Review yesterday that's looking at it and looking at taking into account all the free agent fees that were signed in terms of, like the Jack Butlins, the Dujon Sterlings, Kieran Dowells. Even free transfers have on costs. It's not a case of you get the player, you've only got to pay his wages. That's not how it works. The Bosman ruling was never done for that reason. The Bosman ruling was done so the players were to receive the majority of any transfer fees or any money that was available that would have gone to clubs. Yes, it's probably less than what you would pay to a club, but they still receive signing on fees, bonuses, certain financial assurances, etc., etc. So with that taken into account, it appears that Rangers do have a net spend of 6 million. So they spent £6 million. The board appear to be responding to Beale's claim that it was a break-even transfer window by showing that it wasn't a break-even transfer window, and they did actually spend 6 million over and above what they took in. So the board responding, making their manager look a little bit stupid. Now, who do you believe? Then you've got Michael Beale saying that the players' fees that were quoted in the media are nowhere near what they were actually paid for, yet others appear to indicate that they were. Where is the truth? What is going on? What, in this day of where every transfer fee seems to be undisclosed, it does appear that there is a confusion, and I think there is a need perhaps to clear this up. But it appears there is reluctance at the board level and at the managerial level to clear up this misunderstanding of where we are at in terms of these fees. The board's inability as well to back or sack is quite alarming. Look, I have been very complimentary to James Bisgrove and John Bennett since they've come in, and I still think that Bisgrove and Bennett are doing a very good job in taking this club forward. They're modernising, they've got a clear vision for the future. They, however, need to transfer that same vision they've shown and that same decisiveness they've shown off the field to on the field. What do I mean by that? Well, if you look at what they've done off the field, they've cleared away and got rid of several directors and financial officers, and they've built infrastructure all designed to bringing in and increasing revenue streams into the club, all very positive. Yet on the board, they appear to allow the team to be dead man walking. It seems zombie-like, walking into the middle of, an apocalypse. There's no direction, there's no vision, there's no style, there's no tactical nous out there. We played, I think we've got to get this into perspective and look at where we are at as a club at this moment in time. We played a Celtic team that was so poor on Saturday, a Celtic team that is probably the weakest team we've ever seen at Ibrox in recent times, and we were absolutely shocking. And we can argue over the VAR goal all you want, and if that goal had gone in, but let's face facts. Even up until that VAR goal, when the goal that was disallowed went in, we were still playing exceptionally poorly. There was no direction, there was no tactics. The players appeared confused as to what they needed to do. It just it lacked direction. And that comes from one person. That comes from the very top of the club. That comes from the manager of the club, not from the players. The players merely respond to what they are told to do on the field by the manager, and the manager appears to not know what to do to get the best out of the players. Look, I've been very quiet, not quiet, but I've not really been drawn on the Beale in, Beale out sort of debate. I've kind of put the sides of the argument. I've talked about, what's been going on at the club. I've talked about what the fans are saying. I've talked about what the board have said, what limited amount the board have said. I've talked about what the likes of Barry Ferguson, Chris Boyd have said. But look, people who are saying it's too early to change your manager, you've got to look at Beale's whole body of work. You've got to look at the fact that, 6 games against Celtic, 1 victory only. You've got to look at the big games we've played in. PSV Eindhoven away, absolutely humiliated. Servette game, at Ibrox, not good enough. It's just, for me, the team lacks any sort of vision, lacks any sort of tactics, lacks any sort of direction, lacks any sort of, just ability. And that comes from the very top. That comes from the manager, not from the players. So, look, let's take it this way. If Rangers are going to change manager, which I think is kind of a sneaking inevitability that there will be a change of manager, this is a crucial appointment that Bisgrove and Bennett will have to get 100% right. Now, the worrying thing for me is these links to John Eustace, the Birmingham City manager, who is, yes, young, up and coming, but hasn't really displayed anything in recent times other than the start of this season that he's any good at his job. The issue we've got there is, again, this is what we did with Michael Beale. He'd started off well at QPR, and then we went for him, and he became our manager, and we've seen what that brings. Eustace is not a great manager. Rangers need an established manager, someone who is going to make a real difference to this team. If you look at Eustace's stats, his stats as manager are not great. Less than 50% win across his career, less than 40% wins at Birmingham, less than 30% at QPR. Yes, at Kidderminster Harriers it was 53, but that's Kidderminster Harriers playing in a lower English league, which is nowhere near the standards that Rangers will need and demand if they're going to be successful, not only in Scotland, but in Europe as well. To me, there's just it's a worrying rumour, and I hope that rumour goes away, and I hope that rumour is just pure speculation. But what is quite clear is if we do change manager, we need someone who has experience, someone who can handle a big club, someone who has a tactical plan and a vision for the future, something that Michael Beale at the moment is singularly failing to deliver. Well, guys, in other news, guess who played last night for Croatia? Yes, that's right. Borna Bottlejob played for Croatia last night. Wow, what a miracle. So he goes off injured against PSV. He's so bad he can't play. He can't play against Celtic. And then, guess what? A few days later, he's able to play against Croatia. Interesting, that one, isn't it? What do you think, guys? Let me know in the comments below. Well, guys, thank you for watching another episode of Glasgow Rangers Nation. As always, guys, two things I need you to do for me. Number one, smash the like, and number two, remember, we are the people.